this week's Bushel Up. Actually coming to you from the office this morning. We're crunching some data and some numbers. We were fortunate enough to finish up harvest over the weekend on most of our trials. We've got a couple little strips to take out yet that we're waiting on. But all in all, the information's been gathered, and now it's time to start crunching the numbers and start looking at what worked, what didn't work, what were some of the yield responses. Hearing a lot of variability out in the field from you guys and gals out there. I know there's been some good things, and then there's been some disappointments, and it's always important to let's dig into those. Let's try to figure out maybe what went wrong. Just harvesting the field and saying, well, it wasn't what I thought it should be, or yield was down. It's important to try to get to the root cause. So there's a few things we can do. Obviously, we talk about grid soil sampling, get a good fresh soil sample off that field, determine if it was something related to fertility. One of the big topics was, did we run out of nitrogen, with all the rain early in the year? We can see that with your residual nitrate in that top 8 inches. Were we short? Do we still have a healthy residual left over? We don't want too much, but we don't want zero. And so that's one of the things we can learn, looking at stocks, checking out, did we have crown rot, stalk rot? We've had solutions for that. Sometimes we don't realize it, or we don't think about that, but we've been talking about in-furrow and how we can protect against some of those late stalk diseases that show up when we get the late heat, and some of that pressure that we had here, stress late, that led to some of these issues with plants dying prematurely. And then obviously we have the culprits of disease, insects, perhaps there's a herbicide issue. So, make sure you're looking at some of those years, you're trying to figure out what went wrong, don't just dismiss it. Typically I learn from my mistakes, I learn from my failures. And so it's important to try to take something forward out of this year on those disappointing fields. On the good fields, same thing. Let's try to figure out what drove yield, what made those work, and we love doing that too. A couple other things I want to talk about. Just soil moisture. We're very dry. The soil samplers are having a hard time, even on irrigated fields, especially if you shut irrigation off a little bit early. We're worried about fires, so be safe there. Also, be aware of the need of residue breakdown. We remember, we talk about, there's a lot of talk going around about digester programs. We have those. We can help break that residue down, but that needs moisture. We need moisture to activate those microbes. So if you haven't buttoned up the pivots, if you haven't winterized them, let's see what happens this weekend. There's a chance of showers, but if we don't get some moisture soon, it may be worth putting a ½ inch of water on these fields just to keep some breakdown going. Talk also about fall burn down. I know got some cooler mornings now, temperatures starting to drop. Again, with moisture being a concern going into next year, anything we can do to get ahead of weeds, to preserve as much moisture as we can will be very important. So start talking about those fall burn down acres. Still like to see it cool down a little bit to get the best results out of that, but anytime now we'll start looking at that window, along with fall pasture spraying. We had a lot of pasture work come in this spring because we had some moisture. I always laugh because we always spray our pastures when we have moisture and things are looking good, but really it's controlling those weeds when we're under drought stress that's really important in pasture work. So from my range judging days in high school, it's very important to protect those pastures, don't overgraze them, and control the weeds when we're dry. Not so much when things look good. I know it's easier to spend the money in that case, but the biggest benefit comes when we're under pressure. So be talking about those, be thinking about your pastures if you have some weeds out there, especially as we dried out late. We may see some of that weed pressure come on as the grass didn't keep up with maybe the weed pressure. So a lot of things to be thinking about as we transition. I know some of you are still in the middle of harvest. Some of you I see are starting to wrap up a little bit. So benefit of being done with harvest early is we have a lot of time to start doing some things in the fall to set us up for success in 2025. One of those things is spend some time in the office and look at your results while it's still fresh in your mind. Another is start getting some of that field work done and get prepared for 2025. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll look forward to talking to you down the road.